I am bringing you a podcast today, a floor below my youngest room, where he has friends over, and apparently sounds like they're playing Keepy Uppy. Now, could it be World War III? Potentially. I'm not really sure. It sounds about the same, but I have a feeling it's Keepy Uppy. So if you hear screams and giggles and loud pounding and shaking, dogs barking, all the things, like, just welcome to my life. Welcome to my life. I'm not going to try and shush my kids and put them in front of a TV just for the sake of a much better sound quality podcast. I'm just going to hope that my microphone mostly drowns it out for you. So needless to say, today I just wanted to do a real practical episode. You know, I've talked about how saving really is wise. Like, the Bible talks about saving. Building bigger barns for the sake of just being completely independent and for having a luxurious, easy life the rest of our life. God warns us about that, right? But we do see the wisdom of saving all throughout Scripture, both in Proverbs 31 woman, and we see Jesus telling the story about, you know, who goes to build a tower without first seeing if you have everything. And go look at the ants, you know, they save, they prepare, they go out and they work hard and they put away their harvest for the winter, for the hard times. And Joseph saved during the years of plenty so that he could save nations all around him. There is a ton of wisdom with savings. I know this whole, like, am I building bigger barns thing can really trip us up here. I think this is actually a parable that Satan likes to twist, so God's people don't save. But I want to share with you a little story that may really shift your thinking here. When my husband and I had just gotten out of debt, we had about a month, not even a month, about a month worth of expenses. It wouldn't be a month now, but like back then our expenses were a lot less because this was before inflation. We had about a month worth of expenses saved into our emergency fund. It was the only savings we had. And God told me very clearly, in a way that, like, I could not deny, to give away a significant portion of that to a gal that I barely knew in a new church that I was going to, and her family was going through some really hard stuff. And I argued with God about this for a week. Like, I did not just go home and click the button and give the money. I wish I had that kind of faith and like that kind of confidence in what I had heard. But of course I was like, oh, I must have drank too much coffee today. Like, I just did not want to believe that that was what God was asking me to do, even though in my heart of hearts, I knew that he was. I knew the voice of my shepherd. And for a week, I argued with him. And one of the things that I argued with him was like, this is for emergencies. And God said, well, this is an emergency. It's somebody else's. You guys, your emergency fund can be big as long as you're willing to understand that God might call you to cover someone else's emergency. And furthermore, because I'm stubborn, I still argued with the Lord about this. I was like, God, if I called in and talked to Dave Ramsey about this situation, me giving away such a significant portion of like our tiny little, you know, nothingness that we have going on with no avenue of recouping it, he would say this is foolish. He would say this is so stupid and that we should never do this. And God told, in my heart of hearts, it was like I heard him nearly. He said, are you going to listen to Dave Ramsey? Or are you going to listen to me? You guys, always listen to God. Always listen to God. He is always trustworthy. He is always good. And we don't build savings to just bring ourselves comfort. We build savings to build margin so that when God calls us to help others, we have the ability to. When God calls us to when God calls us to do anything, like, we have this margin to say yes to him. And furthermore, so we don't have to relinquish our freedom to something that he hasn't called us to relinquish our freedom to. If we are relinquishing our freedom to buy another car just because we have been unwise and we haven't saved for a car, that's tying ourselves to something that the Lord would rather we be free of. And so there is just so much wisdom in setting aside money for the future that I just do not want you to brush off because you're scared of building a bigger barn or because you're scared it's going to make you feel wealthy. Really, honestly, like set up a system like this so that you can have savings for the future, fully understanding that you need to hold those completely open-handedly. They can have the label new car, and it could be somebody else's new car. They could have the label holidays and birthdays, and you might end up giving that away to someone else and choosing to celebrate in a much, much smaller way. Just know that at the end of the day, 100% of it is always God's. So how do we go about saving in a way that actually happens? Because the truth of the matter is, I think a lot of us just know we should be saving, but one, we don't know how much we should be saving. We don't even really know how to go about making it happen. And it just feels like everything is so tight, there's just no possibility to be saving to begin with. So I'm going to talk a little bit about just what I have done to help saving become possible. And if you want to make something similar for yourself, I would just highly recommend it because it really has worked really well for me. And I'd love to hear what you do too. Like if you have a saving system where you're like, this has really worked for me. When big expenses come, I know there's money there for that. And when unexpected things happen, there's money for that. And when people in need unexpectedly need help, I have money for that because I've saved. I'm going to just jump right in and share my screen with you to kind of show you like what I have set up. I've never done screen share here before. So, oh, look at, there you go. You can see it. Okay. So I have kind of a whole system, but what I want to zero in on is my saving bank. So I have a few different banks that I use, but I have personally found, hang on, let me get up here. There we go. Okay. So I have personally found that if my savings are too close to my spending money, I will just spend it. It's just too easy for me to be like, you know what? I know that is for another time in another place, but I'll just borrow $40 from it this month and then I'll pay it back next month. I'll tell that to myself over and over again. And you want to know what? It never ever happens. I never ever pay myself back the next month. And month after month, that same mindset, oh, it's just a little bit. I'll just borrow from that account. It'll be fine. I'll pay you back later. And then later comes and none of that stuff has been put back and there's not enough there. And so this is what I have set up. I use Capital One 360. I've used Capital One 360 since I was 18 years old, guys. Almost 20 years I have been using the exact same bank, and it has morphed over the years. I've changed the envelopes, I've changed the amount that I have, but pretty much what these are little savings accounts. You can have up to 25 with Capital One 360, which is why I love it because I can label them, I can separate them. Like I said, I've been doing this for 20 years where I have been labeling and separating my savings. You can also set up automated transfers. And so that's another key thing that just makes this really easy. This setup's super easy. So here's some of the things that I personally, me, myself, and I have savings accounts for. Like these are the ones that I have. I have taxes because the job I work for does not get taxes withheld first. And so I have to pull taxes out first. I have an emergency fund. And when that's fully funded, it just sits there. I don't actually have to have a transfer here like this. But if I am funding it, like if I have recently used it, like we had a pretty unexpected $3,000 dental bill, I had to pull out of the emergency fund. And so then I will set up that transaction to go back there so that I am once again refunding this emergency fund. That's what it's there for. There's nothing wrong with doing that. That's 100% what you should do. Use it and then just refund it. I also am saving for a new car. So this is one of the things I mentioned. And it's one of those expenses that you know it's going to happen, but oftentimes it can be so far in the future that you just aren't thinking about doing it. So this so often happens when we pay off a car loan. Like, we know that debt is bad. It's costing us $100 of interest and we pay off that car loan, but then we don't pay ourselves for a new car. And we just end up needing a loan again in a few years. And so you can feel that freedom for a few years where you don't owe anything on a car, but then you don't have any money set aside for a new car when that old one breaks down, and you're just caught in that cycle again of like accruing debt, paying it off. And so this is really an incredible envelope to have. And one of the ways that I like to go about figuring out how much, like what my goal amount is and what my goal date is simply to do the research. Like, when I want a new car, this is actually the car I would love to have. And like in a really practical way, don't go crazy, because I guarantee you when times get tight, you're going to like be like, well, I don't want quite that fancy of a car. Like, be realistic with yourself. And how far away is that? My car has 200,000 miles on it right now. I can probably get another year or two out of it. How much do I need to put away per month? And you guys, let me tell you, you can do this with a calculator, a pen and a pencil, a calculator on your phone. It's really not that hard. In fact, this can be kind of fun to go like car shopping, just see how much cars are going for, add a little bit, because inflation is going to happen. And then doing the math. But you can go to Chat GPT and do this too. You can talk about the kind of car you want, where you live, what kind of condition you want it to be in. You can say, I want to buy it in 8 years. Include inflation costs into the price that I'm going to pay for that, include how much my car is going to sell for when it has about this many miles on it, all the things. You can give it all the information, and it's going to give you a pretty decent math equation back. Like, it's going to give you a pretty decent answer about how much you need to be putting away per month into your new car. Now, Christmas is one of those that's like, it feels like a no-brainer, guys, but like, people forget to save for it all the time. And it can take years before you actually have the full amount saved for Christmas. I think it took me 3 years worth of like setting money aside that I could in the budget because I couldn't afford much, sticking to my Christmas budget. And then the next year I was able to save a little bit more because I wasn't as behind as I was. And then the next year I was able to save a little bit more because I wasn't as behind as I was, until the third Christmas I was able to finally like have my whole Christmas completely ready to go. Same with holidays and birthdays. We're always going to spend money on them. You got to have some money there for them. And then other investments are just like, I like money sitting here. And this can also just kind of be a conduit. So like if I have other things that I want to invest in, I can just use this account instead of my checking account to pull things from. But the way that I have this set up that makes it work is that I have from my paycheck a certain amount goes. Now these numbers are great, but they're not necessarily like what exactly is happening with my money. I'm just putting these in here for the sake of like seeing it. I automatically, like from my paycheck, have a certain amount siphon off. It doesn't even land in my checking account. I'm not even choosing to transfer it for it. I'm not even like having access to like stop a transfer. It is automatically getting siphoned off of my paycheck. And so you can do this. It's actually way easier than it used to be. More and more, you can just do this online. You can literally like log into your account through your work and update this kind of stuff yourself, where you can put in bank account information, tell how much you want to split your paycheck, split it multiple different ways, and then your paycheck automatically splits into all the right places, which is just like fantastic, guys. Let me tell you, it is just fantastic. Very easy and simple to update, completely free to update, and you don't even have to go to HR and talk to them. Like, you can literally do it online most of the time. The first time you might have to talk to HR and just figure it out, but most of the time you can just get that siphoned off all by yourself. And so that is one of the biggest keys to actually making savings happen. If you want to actually save, this is one of the biggest things to actually make it happen, is just take it out of the paycheck before you see it. This is one of the reasons why the government started taking taxes out before you get your paycheck, is because the government realized that they were more likely to get taxes and they were more likely to be able to easily raise taxes by just taking it out beforehand, because it just doesn't affect you the same way as when you get a check and you have to like write the government 30% of that check. So siphoning this off is psychologically just going to make saving so much more doable for you, and keeping it at a separate bank than any of your bills and any of your spending money is going to give you the like psychological boundary to keep you from dipping into those accounts when you know you shouldn't. So one of the ways that I figure out how much to siphon off, and a lot of times, especially when you begin, you can do the math on all of these and be like, there's no way, I just don't have money for that. And that's okay, but something is better than nothing. So figure out what you know for sure you are going to spend money on. Christmas is a huge one. Christmas is a huge one. It comes every single year. And when you actually have a budget set and cash set for it, you're less likely to go crazy into debt with Christmas, and that can really get you ahead. So Christmas and holidays and birthdays are great ones to start if you don't know where to start. If your taxes aren't coming out before you get paid, like you are self-employed, taxes is like number one priority. Make sure you have savings for taxes. It can get real messy and real bad really fast if you don't. And then, of course, working on an emergency fund, working on getting a new car are great goals, but you can always start small. Don't despise small beginnings and keep growing. Like I said, it took me 3 years to grow to the point where I was like, okay, now this is working. It takes time, but that's okay. Okay. And it probably would have taken me less time if I had set up stuff to pull off of my paycheck, but I didn't back 18 years ago when I started doing this, guys. So needless to say, that is how I do it. If you want the link for Capital One 360, I have a link for you down in the show notes that you can use. And I'm pretty sure it gets you like a perk. I can't remember what the perk was. I think it gets you like $50 if you set up direct deposit to here, which is what I'm talking about doing. All right, so that pretty much rounds that out. Okay, I think that's it for you guys. I really would love to hear what you guys think of this. If you guys need any help or have any questions, feel free to shoot me an email or leave a comment. I'll talk to you later.